Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Rise of the Guardians? Released on November 21st, 2012, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. We open in darkness. A voice slowly awakens. Jack Frost emerges from a frozen lake with no memory of who he is or how he got there. All he knows is his name and that he's completely alone. As he learns to control ice and snow, he realizes something even more painful. No one can see him. No one believes in him. He's invisible to the world. But the wind stays close. It becomes his only companion as he drifts across snowy towns, creating fun wherever he goes but never truly connecting. 300 years pass. Jack has become a myth in the eyes of the world. Playful, mischievous, and wild, but still lost. Then everything changes. The man in the moon, the silent presence that watches over the world, chooses Jack to become a guardian. He's summoned to the North Pole, to a hidden fortress run by North. Not the jolly red-suited Santa most people imagine. This North is a sword-wielding protector with a thick Russian accent and arms full of tattoos representing wonder and fear. The Guardians are not just stories. They're the ones who protect the beliefs and dreams of children. North is joined by Tooth, the bright and fast-winged Tooth Fairy who keeps memories locked inside children's teeth. There's Bunnymund, the Easter Bunny, tall and rugged with an Australian accent and a belt full of boomerangs. And then there's Sandy, the Sandman, who never speaks but communicates through glowing dream sand that shapes into anything he wants. Their mission is simple: keep children believing, because belief gives them power. But a threat has returned. Pitch Black, the boogeyman. He's tired of hiding in the shadows. He wants to be believed in again. But instead of wonder or joy, he feeds on fear. He starts turning dreams into nightmares and replacing hope with doubt. Children start losing faith, and with every child who stops believing, the Guardians begin to lose their strength. Jack is pulled into this war, but he doesn't know why he was chosen. He doesn't see himself as a guardian. He just wants answers. He wants to know why he was created, why he was forgotten, and most of all, he wants to be seen. The movie slowly unfolds Jack's past, especially when Tooth helps him recover his lost memories. We learn that before he was Jack Frost, he was a real boy, a brave older brother who gave his life to save his sister. That moment of sacrifice is what made him a guardian. It wasn't about power or magic. It was about heart. The film reaches its emotional peak when Jack loses everything. Pitch shatters his staff. Sandy disappears. The Guardians are broken. But even in the darkness, Jack finds one last child who still believes. Just one. And it's enough. With the belief of this child, Jack rediscovers his strength. He remakes his staff and returns to fight Pitch, not just with ice but with purpose. He's no longer just a bringer of snow. He's the guardian of fun. The one who reminds children to laugh and play, even when they're afraid. The final showdown is symbolic more than it is physical. Pitch tries to turn the last believers against the Guardians, but the children stand their ground. They believe, and when belief returns, so does Sandman. The dreams come back, the fear fades, and Pitch is swallowed by the same darkness he once ruled. By the end, Jack has finally found his place. The others accept him. Children see him, and for the first time in centuries, he's not alone. He's no longer just a force of nature. He's part of something bigger. Rise of the Guardians didn't just reimagine holiday legends. It told a story about belief, identity, and the quiet battles kids face when they grow up. It gave us mythic characters with real emotion and purpose. And even though it didn't dominate the box office, it found a home in the hearts of those who saw something deeper in it. On November 21st, 2012, a film quietly stepped into theaters with the heart of a legend and the soul of a snowfall. Rise of the Guardians wasn't your typical holiday movie. It didn't wear the loud colors of Christmas or bathe itself in sweet nostalgia. Instead, it arrived like a whisper carried on winter wind, a story about belief, wonder, and what it truly means to be seen. Animated by DreamWorks and directed by Peter Ramsey, this film didn't just bring mythic icons to life, it reimagined them. It took Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, and Jack Frost, and turned them into something deeper, more human, more heroic. Not just symbols of childhood, but protectors of it. From the very first frame, you can feel it. This is not another holiday flick stitched together with cliches. There's snow, yes. There's magic. But there's also loneliness. There's fear. There's something a little darker, a little more honest, pulling just beneath the surface. And that's what makes Rise of the Guardians so extraordinary. It's not afraid of shadows. It's not afraid to ask what happens when children stop believing, when the things that used to keep nightmares away begin to fade. And even more than that, it's not afraid to ask what happens to the ones we forget. The film opens with Jack Frost, alone in the middle of a frozen lake, pulled from icy stillness by the moonlight. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know why he exists. All he knows is that he has powers, control over ice, snow, frost, and that no one can see him. Not because he's hiding, but because no one believes in him. For centuries, Jack roams the earth like a ghost, bringing snow days and laughter, but never able to share them, never able to connect. And that central tension, that hunger for meaning and identity, drives the story in a way few animated films even attempt. But Jack's solitude doesn't last. When the man in the moon, the mysterious, godlike overseer of the world, chooses him to become a guardian, everything changes. He's pulled into a hidden world that runs parallel to ours, where magic is real, legends walk among us, and belief is the currency of power. Here, we meet the other guardians, and they are nothing like you expect. Santa, or North, is a towering figure with arms like tree trunks and a booming Russian accent. Covered in tattoos reading naughty and nice, North is more warrior than sleigh rider. Then there's Bunnymund, the Easter Bunny, lean and fast, with boomerangs strapped to his back and the calm precision of a bush ninja. The Tooth Fairy, or Tooth, is part hummingbird, part librarian, obsessed with collecting childhood memories tucked inside baby teeth. And finally, there's Sandy, the Sandman, who speaks through golden dream sand and weaves children's dreams with just a wave of his hand. He says nothing but communicates everything. Together, they're tasked with protecting the innocence of children, keeping belief alive, because belief isn't just symbolic here. It's literal. When children believe, the guardians grow stronger. They're not deities. They're fueled by the love and trust of the kids they protect. But something is threatening that belief. Something old. Something cruel. Pitch Black, the boogeyman, has returned, and he's tired of being forgotten. He moves in the shadows, whispering doubt, twisting dreams into nightmares, and sowing fear across the world. Played with quiet menace by Jude Law, Pitch isn't loud or chaotic, he's surgical. He knows how belief works, and more dangerously, he knows how to unmake it. This setup gives the movie room to explore not just the spectacle of its world, though there's plenty of that, but the emotional undercurrents beneath it. Because while the Guardians prepare for war, Jack has his own battles. He doesn't understand why he was chosen. He doesn't think he belongs among heroes. And more than anything, he wants to know his past. Why was he created? Why was he forgotten? The Guardians are united by purpose. Jack has none. And it's in that contrast that the film begins to blossom into something truly special. Visually, Rise of the Guardians is breathtaking. From North's towering fortress of ice and gears to Bunnymund's vast warren of stone tunnels and blooming meadows, every location pulses with creativity and detail. The animation is rich, layered, and fluid, but it's not just beautiful. It's purposeful. When Pitch's black sand slithers through a child's room, or when Sandy's golden dreams swirl into horses and ships and soaring birds, the contrast between hope and fear becomes visible. These aren't just effects. They're metaphors made real. The film's use of color, texture, and movement turns imagination into geography. Belief becomes a battlefield. The story takes its time building tension, revealing that Pitch's true plan isn't just to scare children. It's to erase belief entirely. He targets the Tooth Fairy's palace, stealing the teeth and the memories within them. He strikes at Sandy, the bringer of dreams, eliminating him in a moment that's both devastating and bold. Slowly, children stop believing, and the Guardians begin to weaken. Bunnymun's Easter fails. Tooth's helpers go quiet. Even North, the most optimistic, starts to question their strength. The only one who still has a spark of fight left is Jack, though he doesn't even know why he's fighting. That's when he discovers the truth. With Tooth's help, Jack unlocks a box containing the tooth that holds his own memories. In a flashback, we see Jack's life before he became Frost. He was a boy, a brother, someone kind, brave, and deeply human. And when his little sister was in danger, he gave his life to save her. That act of sacrifice is what made him a guardian. Not power, not Frost, heart. And that revelation reshapes everything. Jack isn't just a trickster or a loner. He's a protector. He always has been. Armed with that truth, Jack begins to change. He stops running. He stops doubting. And when he finds the last child in the world who still believes, he realizes something powerful. Sometimes belief doesn't come from the crowd. Sometimes it only takes one. That single child becomes the spark that reignites hope. With his belief, Jack rebuilds his broken staff and confronts Pitch. Not with violence, but with clarity. He reminds Pitch that fear only has power when we give up on joy. And joy, when chosen, always wins. The final act is a dance between dreams and nightmares. Sandy returns. The Guardians rally. Children across the world begin to believe again. Pitch, once feared, is forgotten, stripped of power and chased into the shadows by his own nightmares. The arc isn't just victory, it's restoration. Jack is no longer invisible. The kids see him. His name becomes more than a whisper in the wind. It becomes a story again. He has a place among the Guardians, but more than that, he has a purpose of his own. To bring fun, to bring laughter, to be the light-hearted reminder that not everything has to be heavy to matter. When Rise of the Guardians was released, it didn't immediately explode at the box office. It competed against giants and didn't fit neatly into seasonal categories. It was too wintry for summer, too introspective for slapstick, too serious for toddlers, and yet too magical to ignore. But over time, it found an audience. Slowly, through word of mouth, streaming, and annual rewatches, it became something rare, a cult classic in the world of family animation. It connected with people not because it shouted the loudest, but because it whispered something honest. That it's okay to feel lost. That belief is fragile but powerful. That our stories, even the forgotten ones, still have meaning. What makes this film worth exploring now is how layered it really is. On the surface, it's a fantasy adventure with dazzling effects and charming characters. But underneath, it's about loneliness, legacy, and the quiet power of being believed in. It dares to ask big questions in small ways. What happens when we're forgotten? What gives us purpose? And are we still real if no one sees us? It's a movie for kids, sure, but not just for them. It speaks to anyone who's ever felt invisible. Anyone who's ever wondered if what they do matters. It's for the dreamers, the protectors, the ones who still leave cookies out for Santa and wake early to look for Easter eggs. Not because they have to, but because a part of them still believes. In fun, in wonder, in something bigger than fear. Rise of the Guardians doesn't demand belief. It invites it, and like the best myths, it lives on not because it's loud, but because it's true in a way we all recognize deep down. That every snowflake tells a story, that every whisper of wind might be a sign, and that sometimes, even in the darkest night, a little bit of magic still waits just beneath the frost. The story begins in silence, the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the world is holding its breath. Then a voice, soft, uncertain. Jack Frost wakes up underwater, drifting in the frozen stillness of a pond, pulled to the surface by a beam of moonlight that cuts through the cold. He breaks the ice and gasps into existence, confused and completely alone. He floats upward through a winter forest, the moon glowing above him like a silent witness. Snow falls as he explores his surroundings, noticing he can touch frost, command it. When he steps onto a frozen branch, it cracks. A child runs below, but doesn't notice him. The child can't see him. No one can. Jack laughs, spins, and leaps into the sky, surfing the wind and leaving trails of ice across rooftops and rivers. It's beautiful, freeing, but it's also empty. The joy is one-sided. Jack is a ghost no one believes in. And so begins the story of a forgotten spirit searching for meaning. Centuries pass. Jack becomes legend, whispered about in schools and stories but never truly believed. He plays pranks, creates snow days, starts snowball fights. Kids enjoy his mischief, but none know who to thank. He exists between moments, in the background of winter, restless and invisible. And then, somewhere far from where Jack flies, something shifts. A dark presence stirs in the shadows. Pitch black, the boogeyman, returns after years of silence. He creeps into the world through cracks in dreams, feeding on fear and preparing to rise. His first move isn't loud. It's quiet, intentional. He begins twisting dreams into nightmares, replacing golden hope with inky terror. In the North Pole, deep inside an enormous workshop carved from ice and steel, North senses the change. He's not alone. Yeti craftsmen scurry around him, building toys, testing gadgets. North, Santa Claus, though you wouldn't recognize him immediately, stands with thick arms covered in tattoos and eyes sharp with concern. He senses something wrong. He looks to the sky. The aurora borealis flares with warning. Something dark is coming. And so he calls a meeting of the guardians. One by one, the chosen protectors of childhood assemble. First comes Bunnymund, the Easter Bunny, who travels through magical burrows that connect the earth. He's tall, sarcastic, with an Australian accent and a tough exterior. He doesn't care much for snow. Then there's Tooth, the Tooth Fairy, who glides in on wings that shimmer with color, followed by thousands of tiny fairies who help her collect children's teeth. Each tooth holds a child's memories, and she guards them with devotion. Last to arrive is Sandy the Sandman. He doesn't speak, but he doesn't need to. His golden sand floats around him in symbols and shapes, his face soft and kind. Sandy creates dreams, beautiful ones. But now something is threatening them. The man in the moon, their silent guide, sends them a message. They need a new guardian, someone to help in the coming fight. And to their surprise, the name is Jack Frost. The guardians react with confusion. Jack? The trickster? The loner? The one no child truly believes in. North is intrigued. Bunnymund is annoyed. Tooth is curious. Sandy just watches. But the message is clear. Jack must join them. Somewhere in a snow-covered forest, Jack causes a snowball fight between school kids. He's laughing, enjoying himself, but that hollow emptiness is always present. He longs for someone to see him, to believe in him. Suddenly, the wind shifts. He's lifted high into the sky against his will, pulled by a force he doesn't understand. He crashes into North's workshop and is greeted by chaos. Yetis, elves, machines, glowing globes, and then North himself, who tells Jack that he's been chosen. Jack doesn't understand. He's never been chosen for anything. North tries to explain. He opens a Matryoshka doll, showing his many layers, from warrior to toy maker, from tough to tender. At his core is wonder. That's what he protects. That's what all guardians protect. Something fundamental. But Jack pushes back. He's not a hero. He doesn't even know who he is. Why should he fight? Why should he protect anything when he's been forgotten? The guardians try to explain what's at stake. Pitches back. He's after the children's belief. And when belief fades, so do the guardians. Jack listens, skeptical, but something about their mission hooks him. Maybe, just maybe, this is a path to finally being seen. The group receives their first real warning when Tooth's palace is attacked. Her precious tooth boxes are stolen by Pitch's nightmares. Twisted black stallions made of smoke and fear. They gallop through the night sky, striking fast and vanishing into shadows. Jack joins the guardians in chasing them across cities, gliding over rooftops and through windows. They arrive at the palace too late. The teeth are gone. But the loss runs deeper. Without the teeth, The children's memories, stored like jewels in each one, are lost. Their connection to magic begins to fray. Pitch appears, stepping from the shadows with smooth confidence. He's not a monster. He's charming, intelligent, with eyes that flicker like dying stars. He mocks the Guardians, taunts them for being relics of a forgotten time. He doesn't want to hide anymore. He wants to be believed in again, like he once was, when children feared the dark. Jack faces him, but Pitch is clever. He plants a seed of doubt. Why was Jack chosen? What is he really fighting for? Later, Jack finds himself alone again, unsure if he belongs. He begins to wonder why the man in the moon chose him at all. What's his center, his purpose? North said every guardian has one. For Tooth, it's memory. For Bunnymund, it's hope. For Sandy, dreams. But for Jack, he has no idea. And the more he searches for meaning, the more the emptiness eats away at him. The Guardians, meanwhile, decide to help Tooth by delivering the teeth themselves. They glide through cities at night, sneaking into children's rooms and leaving coins beneath pillows. Jack joins in, laughing and causing trouble along the way. But then something strange happens. He finds one of his own teeth, and with it, a buried memory. He's not ready to look at it. Not yet. But he pockets it. Maybe there's something there. Something about who he was before he became Jack Frost. As the Guardians travel, the children begin to notice things shifting. They feel something off. Belief starts to waver. Pitch takes advantage of it. His nightmares begin to overpower Sandy's dream sand, twisting golden horses into monstrous shadows. In one harrowing scene, Sandy is surrounded by darkness. He fights, glowing brighter than ever, but he's outnumbered. The Guardians arrive too late. Sandy falls, his light fades, and the world sleeps without dreams. This is the first major blow. The Guardians are shaken. Pitch is no longer just a threat, he's winning. Fear spreads. Children whisper that the Sandman is gone. Nightmares become the norm. Jack feels guilt growing heavier in his chest. He never asked to be a guardian, but now he's here, and everything is falling apart. He isolates himself, flying to a frozen mountain far away. There Pitch appears again. But this time he doesn't threaten. He tempts. He tells Jack they're the same. Both forgotten. Both alone. Both misunderstood. And for a moment Jack listens. Pitch offers Jack his memories. All of them, in exchange for nothing but trust. And Jack, desperate for answers, accepts. Pitch leads him to a hidden cavern where glowing teeth hold pieces of Jack's past. He sees flashes, his sister, a frozen pond, a courageous leap. But before he can see everything, Pitch traps him. The memories vanish. His staff is broken. He's left powerless. And far away, the Guardians are attacked again. This time, Pitch strikes Easter. He infects the warren with shadows, kills the blooming flowers, and frightens the children into disbelief. Easter is ruined. Bunnymund is crushed. Another guardian is fading. Jack wakes to find the world colder than before. His staff lies in splinters. His hope, too. The Guardians no longer trust him. And why should they? Every step he's taken has led to loss. But then, in a quiet moment, a child calls his name. One boy, one believer. Jamie, the last one who still holds on. Jack follows his voice, and what he finds changes everything. Jamie believes, not just in the Guardians but in Jack. He can see him, truly see him, and that moment, that recognition, is like a spark in the dark. As Jack helps Jamie see that magic still exists, he begins to believe it himself. And belief in this world is everything. He holds his broken staff and, slowly, begins to mend it. The frost returns to his fingers. The snow begins to swirl. He's not finished. Not yet. What follows is a promise, not of easy victory, but of purpose. Jack returns to the others not just with powers restored, but with a clearer understanding of what he brings to the team. Not just mischief, not just cold, but fun, joy. A reminder that even in the face of fear, laughter matters. And just like that, the tide begins to shift. Jack Frost stands outside Jamie's house, holding the splintered pieces of his staff in his hands. His breath curls in the cold air as he watches the last child who still believes. Jamie, brave and full of wonder, isn't just clinging to the idea of magic. He's holding on to the guardians themselves. Everyone else has stopped believing, but this boy hasn't let go. And now, for the first time, Jack is seen. Really seen. A child looks right at him and says his name. No hesitation. No confusion. Jack Frost. It's the first time Jack has truly existed in someone's eyes. The weight of it crashes into him like a wave. He spent centuries trying to make people laugh, trying to be noticed, and now this single moment is everything he's ever wanted. But this isn't just a moment of validation. It's a turning point. Because when Jamie believes, Jack's powers begin to return. The frost responds. The cold swirls around him. And even though his staff is broken, something deep within him begins to mend. Inside the house, Jamie gathers his friends. He tells them about the guardians, about how they're real. The others are skeptical, but Jamie's belief is strong enough to ignite a spark in them too. Slowly, one by one, they start to believe again. Not fully. Not yet. But the seed is planted. And Jack, still outside, watches it all unfold with quiet hope. But the world beyond this small house is still sinking into fear. The guardians are fractured. Sandy is gone. The dreams have stopped. The globe of belief in North's workshop, the magical globe that lights up every time a child believes, has grown dark, with just one small light remaining. Jamie, the last believer, the last flicker of hope. Jack returns to the guardians, not just to help, but with purpose now burning in his chest. He's not the same restless wanderer. He's starting to understand who he is, what he brings. He speaks with North again, asking once more about the concept of a guardian's center. What's at their core, the thing that defines them? For North, it's wonder. For Tooth, it's memories. For Bunnymund, it's hope. And for Jack, he finally sees it. It's fun. The joy of surprise. The lightness of play. The thrill of laughter even in the darkest of moments. That's what he brings to the world. Meanwhile, Pitch is preparing for his final move. He's won in almost every way that matters. The guardians are broken. The children are afraid. His nightmares have replaced dreams across the globe. He stands tall in his lair, shadows coiling around him like smoke. But he doesn't know about Jamie. Not yet. When Jack returns to Jamie's house, he joins the kids in a snowball fight, conjuring laughter and chaos with every throw. And then something incredible happens. The guardians arrive, not with trumpets or power, but with smiles and warmth. They join in. North slides down the rooftop. Tooth and her mini-fairies zoom through the sky. Bunnymund bounds across the lawn with snowballs in both hands. The kids erupt in joy. The belief starts pouring back in. Lights flicker to life on the globe. The guardians are visible once again. The world begins to tilt back toward wonder. But Pitch isn't done. He appears in the middle of the snow-covered street, his black cloak sweeping across the ground like a shadow's edge. The laughter fades. Fear creeps back in. He steps forward, challenging the guardians, threatening Jamie and his friends. He conjures nightmares to attack. But the kids don't run. Jamie stands his ground. He tells Pitch he's not afraid. And his belief doesn't waver. Pitch lashes out. Nightmares gallop forward. The guardians brace for a fight. But it's the children who hold the line. Each one begins to believe not just in North or Tooth or Bunny, but in Sandy too. And in Jack. They shout their names. They call out with certainty. And suddenly, Pitch's power begins to crack. Out of the darkness, golden sand floods the sky, curls and coils like a rising tide. And from that light, Sandy returns, reborn from belief, stronger than ever. He lifts his hands and forms dream creatures in an instant. Elephants, birds, whales, stars. The nightmares have no chance. They dissolve on contact. Fear is no match for dreams. And Sandy, once silent and gone, is now glowing and fierce, scattering darkness like sunlight. Pitch, now cornered, tries to fight back. But his power is slipping. His nightmares turn on him. The very fear he created no longer listens. They sense weakness. They see the children's belief growing stronger. And they drag him down into the shadows. Forgotten. Powerless. Just like the fear he once wielded. The battle ends not with destruction, but with belief. It's not a war of weapons, but of faith, imagination, and memory. The children laugh. The guardians gather together, battered but whole. Jack stands among them, not on the sidelines, but as one of them. The final missing piece has found his place. In the quiet after, the guardians return to North's workshop. The globe glows brightly now, the lights of children's belief blinking across the continents. Jack looks out at it all, and for the first time he doesn't feel like an outsider. He feels like he belongs, like he was always meant to be part of this. North approaches Jack one last time. He doesn't praise him or congratulate him. Instead, he simply recognizes him. Jack Frost, Guardian of Fun. And with that, Jack's name is etched into the lore of magic, right beside the others. Back in the world below, Jamie and his friends wake up with laughter still in their hearts. They've touched something bigger than themselves. They've seen the Guardians, believed in them, and changed the world around them because of it. And up above, Jack stands on a rooftop, looking down with a soft smile. The wind curls around him, playful and familiar. He knows now why it always followed him, why it never left. It was guiding him home. He flies into the sky, frost trailing behind him, and leaves behind not just snowflakes, but a legacy. Not every kid will see him. Not every adult will believe. But somewhere, in every laugh during a snow day, in every snowball fight, every icy window pane, Jack Frost will be there. A whisper in the wind, a glimmer in the cold. Not forgotten. Never again. Rise of the Guardians doesn't end with a thunderous climax or a perfect world. It ends with something quieter, something more lasting, a moment of clarity, a story about finding your center, discovering who you are, and realizing that even the most overlooked, unseen parts of us can become something extraordinary. It's a movie that speaks to kids, but it speaks even louder to the part of every adult that remembers what it was like to believe, to wonder, to dream without fear. And that's the power of it. It wraps fantasy around truth. It uses magic to explore isolation, purpose, belief, and identity. Jack's arc isn't just about saving the world. It's about being saved by finding his own place in it. Pitch doesn't fall because he's evil. He falls because he was forgotten. And in that contrast, the film delivers one of its most powerful ideas. That belief can build. That even the forgotten can rise again. And that sometimes what the world needs most is not a warrior or a king, but someone who reminds us to play, to laugh, and to not take life so seriously. The Guardians each go back to their posts. North's sleigh thunders into the sky. Bunnymund disappears into his burrow. Tooth takes flight with her fairies. Sandy drifts into the clouds, leaving trails of dreams. And Jack, now fully a guardian, spins into the wind and vanishes like snow melting into the air. He doesn't need to be seen by everyone. He doesn't need to be believed in by the whole world. Because one child believed, and that was enough to bring him back. That was enough to change everything. The end isn't just the close of a battle. It's the beginning of a life finally lived with meaning. Jack has been chosen, not because he was perfect, but because he had something only he could bring. And now, with the world watching and winter just beginning, he's ready to be more than a whisper in the dark. He's ready to be what he was always meant to be. Jack Frost, Guardian of Fun. Alive, seen, believed in, and out there, somewhere, the first snowflake of the season begins to fall. The heart of Rise of the Guardians isn't just in its visuals or action. It's in its characters. At its core, this is a story about identity, purpose, and belief, told through a cast of childhood legends who feel deeply human despite their immortal status. They're not just myths brought to life. They're people with doubts, convictions, flaws, and transformation. And it all begins with Jack Frost. Jack isn't introduced as a hero. He's introduced as a mystery. When he first emerges from the frozen pond, reborn into the world with snow on his eyelashes and the moon as his only guide, he is completely blank. No name, no memory, no direction. His first steps are cautious, almost like those of a newborn animal. Then, slowly, he begins to play. He discovers his powers: ice, frost, cold winds, and they thrill him. But when he tries to connect with the people around him, he finds he's invisible. Literally. No one sees him because no one believes in him. This invisibility becomes more than just a plot device. It becomes Jack's emotional wound. For over 300 years, he lives as a ghost in a world that only feels him in gusts of wind and sudden snowstorms. His pranks and snow days are cries for attention, bursts of joy that always go unnoticed. He isn't malevolent, he's desperate. He doesn't want worship. He just wants to matter. That need for recognition becomes his quiet motivation throughout the film, even when he doesn't fully understand it himself. Chris Pine's voice performance brings a grounded vulnerability to Jack. There's humor in his delivery, yes, but also loneliness. Jack masks his fear of irrelevance with sarcasm, with reckless flying, with snowballs thrown into the void. And it's Pine's ability to switch from playful to pained in a single line that makes Jack so relatable. He's not larger than life. He's just trying to find where he fits. When Jack is recruited by the Guardians, that wound deepens before it heals. He doesn't want to join, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't believe he belongs. He's not like them. They're icons, believed in, powerful. He's a myth on the fringe. But the man in the moon has chosen him, and that forces Jack to confront something deeper. Maybe there's more to him than he knows. His journey becomes not just about defeating Pitch, but discovering why he was chosen, who he was, who he is now, and what he could become. Each of the Guardians Jack meets is fully formed and fascinating in their own right, beginning with North. At first glance, North is the muscle of the group, Santa Claus reimagined as a bear of a man with a Russian accent and arms thick with tattoos. But behind his physical presence is a character filled with warmth, curiosity, and an unshakable sense of wonder. When he tells Jack about Center, he's not just giving a speech, he's revealing his own truth. At North's core is the ability to see the world through the eyes of a child, to find amazement in everything. That's what makes him powerful. It's not the swords or the sleigh, it's the awe. Alec Baldwin's performance gives North surprising softness. He isn't a jolly stereotype. He's thoughtful and in many ways the emotional glue holding the Guardians together. Then there's Bunnymund, the Easter Bunny, armed with boomerangs, quick wit, and a tough guy exterior that masks a deep well of hope. He's the most skeptical of Jack, dismissing him as immature and irresponsible. But underneath the banter and bickering, Bunnymund has something Jack doesn't yet have: a legacy built on belief. Easter isn't just a holiday for him. It's a symbol of renewal, of spring, of life returning after darkness. And when Pitch ruins Easter and Bunnymund shrinks into a small, powerless version of himself, it hits hard. He isn't just humiliated, he's heartbroken. Hugh Jackman gives Bunny a fierce presence, but also grace. He's fast and sharp, but when he speaks about belief, you hear the weight in his voice. You see a guardian who knows just how fragile faith can be. Tooth is another layered presence. On the surface, she's energetic and meticulous, flitting around in a flurry of feathers and excitement. But what makes her arc meaningful is her obsession with memories. Tooth doesn't just collect baby teeth. She safeguards the stories locked inside them. And when Pitch steals the teeth, she loses more than a job. She loses the connection she holds between children and their pasts. Isla Fisher brings a quick tempo to Tooth's dialogue, capturing her urgency, but also her deep emotional connection to what she does. There's a moment when she shows Jack a memory from his tooth box, a glimpse of the boy he once was. In that scene, Tooth becomes more than a fairy. She becomes a guide, someone who helps others see who they were so they can understand who they are now. Sandy, the Sandman, says nothing, not a word, but he speaks volumes. Using golden dream sand to create images and symbols above his head, Sandy becomes a silent source of strength and kindness. He embodies peace, rest, imagination, and when Pitch strikes him down, turning his dreams into nightmares, the loss is palpable. The entire mood of the world shifts in his absence. But Sandy's return near the climax is nothing short of triumphant. Reborn through belief, he radiates with the full power of dreams, sweeping away Pitch's darkness not with anger, but with radiant light. He doesn't punish, he restores. His arc is the quietest but arguably the most poetic. Then there's Pitch Black, the villain, the fallen one, the shadow in the corner of every child's room. But Pitch isn't evil for evil's sake. He's bitter, forgotten, once feared, now invisible, just like Jack. And that's where the story becomes morally richer than most animated films. Pitch isn't a monster, he's a mirror. He and Jack are both spirits who crave recognition, who want to matter. But while Jack seeks joy, Pitch has embraced fear. Jude Law voices Pitch with a velvet menace, never shouting, always coiled like a snake ready to strike. He's charismatic, intellectually superior. He talks to Jack like an equal, not an enemy. And when he offers Jack his memories in a moment of false kindness, it's one of the most chilling scenes in the film. Not because of what he says, but because we know he means every word. He's been alone too long to care about anything but power. Pitch's downfall doesn't come through defeat. It comes through erasure. Once the children stop fearing him, he loses everything. His voice grows quieter. His nightmares abandon him. He's dragged into darkness by the very shadows he created. His final moments aren't violent, they're tragic. He becomes what he feared most, forgotten. The film's true magic, though, lies in how all of these characters influence each other. North pushes Jack to look inward. Bunny challenges him to take responsibility. Tooth shows him the value of memory. Sandy represents belief without words. And Pitch shows him what he could become if he chooses fear over joy. Each relationship shapes Jack's transformation. By the end of the film, Jack is no longer invisible. Not because a spell is broken, but because someone believes in him. That belief gives him form, but it also gives him identity. He accepts his role not as a prankster or misfit, but as the guardian of fun. And suddenly, the snow he creates becomes more than just play. It becomes connection, joy, magic, meaning. Jack becomes exactly what he never thought he could be. Someone who matters. The children in the film aren't background noise either. Jamie, the first child to truly see Jack, is the emotional key to the entire story. He's the last believer, and his unwavering faith is what reignites the Guardian's strength. Jamie doesn't have powers or weapons, but he has courage. He stands up to Pitch not with a sword, but with belief. And that belief, pure and unshaken, is stronger than any magic. The other kids, Cupcake, Caleb, Monty, Claude, and Sophie, each represent a facet of childhood. Bravery, imagination, innocence, mischief. They give the Guardians something tangible to protect, something real. It's not about fighting a villain. It's about preserving those sacred, fleeting moments of wonder that define being a child. The joy of a tooth under a pillow, the thrill of Easter morning, the warmth of dreams, the thrill of the first snowflake. Even the film's smaller characters, the Yetis in North's workshop, the tiny tooth fairies, the enchanted egg painters in Bunnymun's warren, add texture and charm to the world. They're not comic relief. They're part of the larger ecosystem of belief. They help build the world without ever stealing focus. All of these characters, large and small, exist in harmony within a single theme. What does it mean to be believed in? For Jack, it means existence. For North, it means purpose. For Bunny and Tooth, it means relevance. For Pitch, it means power. And for the children, it means holding onto something bigger than themselves. Belief in Rise of the Guardians is not about religion or superstition, it's about connection. From the very first frame, Rise of the Guardians invites viewers to believe in more than just what they're seeing. And for those who return to it, something special happens. The more you watch, the more you begin to notice that almost every frame is layered with subtle storytelling, visual hints, and emotional echoes, like secrets waiting patiently to be uncovered. It begins with the moon. The man in the moon isn't just a silent guide. He's a symbol. He never speaks aloud, and yet his presence speaks volumes. His light guides Jack Frost out of the lake, and that light becomes a recurring motif, especially when you realize that light and memory go hand in hand in this world. The first thing Jack sees is the moon, reflecting in the ice. And that icy lake? It isn't just an origin point. It's the place of his death and rebirth. Later, when Jack regains his memories, we return to that exact spot. The lake becomes a circle of identity, tying beginning and end together. Even Jack's staff is more than it seems. Its crooked shape mirrors the stylized letter G, the very symbol of the Guardians, long before Jack is officially one of them. It's a blink and you miss it piece of visual foreshadowing. The staff also echoes the shape of a shepherd's crook, reinforcing Jack's eventual role as a protector, not just a playful spirit. The animation team planted threads of symbolism throughout the film. Every Guardian represents more than just their holiday or role. North represents wonder, which is why his workshop is filled with contradictions. Massive Russian nesting dolls, toy trains, ice towers, glowing swords. It's a fusion of cultures and fantasies, where Yetis craft toys and elves mostly cause chaos. This place isn't just Santa's HQ. It's a visual reflection of a child's imagination, chaotic and limitless. Look closely at North's tattoos. One arm reads, naughty, the other nice. But these aren't jokes. They're a visible reminder of how he holds both possibilities within himself, choosing belief in goodness despite the darkness around him. North often shouts classical composer names, Shostakovich or Tchaikovsky, in moments of excitement or frustration. It's not just comic relief. These outbursts hint at the rich cultural influences behind his character. He isn't bound by one mythology. He's a collage of wonder across time and tradition. Even his accent, bold and musical, makes him feel like a folk hero from a snow-covered storybook. Bonimund, on the other hand, walks in quiet contrast. His Easter-themed domain isn't just a field of eggs and grass. It's teeming with symbolism. The Warren is a hidden sanctuary of life and renewal, echoing indigenous totems and forest mythology. Massive stone sentinels guard the perimeter, their designs hinting at ancient protectors of spring and rebirth. When Bonimund hops through tunnels that crisscross the globe, he's not just moving fast, he's connected to the very cycles of the earth. And when he speaks of hope, you can feel that it's more than a slogan. It's his core, the fuel that lets flowers bloom after winter ends. Pay attention to the Easter eggs, literal and metaphorical. The way they crack open and bloom with color mirrors the moment belief is born in a child. Life, after all, doesn't just happen in an instant. It begins as something hidden, waiting to be discovered. Tooth's palace, all shimmering towers and fluttering fairies, operates like a memory archive. Each child's tooth is tucked away in vaults, labeled and cared for. But the real magic is in what those teeth represent. Memory, personal history, identity. When Pitch steals the teeth, it isn't just sabotage, it's erasure. Children forget who they are without those memories, and belief in magic weakens. It's subtle but profound. There's even a small moment when Tooth finds a mouse under a child's pillow, an obvious nod to the tooth mouse legend from other cultures, reminding us this universe includes many folklore traditions, not just the Western ones. And then there's Sandy. The Sandman speaks in images formed from golden dream sand and every creation. Be it a dolphin, a star, or a carousel, is a reflection of childlike wonder. He doesn't speak with words because dreams don't need language. They speak directly to the heart. When he is struck down by Pitch, the color drains from the world. Nightmares begin to stampede. But when he returns, reborn through the strength of belief, he doesn't rage or attack. He simply outshines the darkness with a flood of light. Dreams, the film reminds us, don't have to fight. They only have to be remembered. The clever symmetry of Sandy and Pitch cannot be overstated. One rules dreams, the other fear. Both use visual manifestations, gold for dreams, black smoke for nightmares. But where Sandy creates form and joy, Pitch creates formlessness and dread. Pitch isn't just a villain. He's a dark reflection of Jack. Both have been invisible, forgotten. Both long to be seen. But where Jack chooses connection, Pitch turns to control. This mirroring deepens their dynamic. It isn't hero versus villain. It's hope versus bitterness, belief versus despair. Pitch's lair, carved into shadowy ruins, is littered with broken statues, fallen heroes of forgotten myths, perhaps. There's something haunting about the fact that his army is made of horses, not dragons or monsters. Horses, creatures once tied to dreams and freedom, now twisted into nightmares. Even the way they emerge, breaking through cracks in the ground, smoke billowing around them, echoes how fear invades the mind, quietly, then all at once. Foreshadowing is everywhere. Early on, we see Jamie looking for eggs during Easter, only to discover they've disappeared. At the time, it's played for confusion. Later, when we see Pitch's interference, we realize this was the moment belief started to flicker. Another small moment, a child's disbelief, becomes a ripple that spreads across the world. Every small break in belief gives Pitch strength, and the film never shouts that fact. It trusts the audience to connect the dots. Even Jamie's drawings are filled with detail. When he sketches Jack Frost long before he truly sees him, it reveals something vital. Children often sense what adults forget. That childlike ability to believe without proof, to imagine what might be real, is shown not as naive, but as powerful. Jamie's imagination literally helps Jack become visible. It's belief that gives form to magic. The film's color palette carries quiet symbolism too. Jack is always surrounded by blues, silvers, and whites. His world is cold, distant, ethereal. But when he's near the children, especially Jamie, warm hues begin to creep in. By the time Jack is seen by Jamie, his Frost no longer feels isolating. Feels inviting, playful. That shift in visual tone mirrors his internal shift, from loneliness to connection. The globe in North's workshop glows brighter with each believer, and it dims as children forget. But here's the quiet genius. Each light on the globe is tiny, almost imperceptible. But together, they create a constellation of belief. It mirrors the film's central message, that a single person believing, even alone, still matters. Jack's memories, once recovered, bring everything full circle. His sacrifice to save his sister from drowning mirrors the final moments of the film, when he saves the world by offering his own truth, his identity, his center. The lake where he died becomes the place where he learns to live again. It's not just a plot point, it's symbolic rebirth. Water, ice, even Jack's laughter shifts. In the beginning, his laugh is playful but hollow, a distraction. By the end, it's full, carries purpose. And when the wind lifts him into the sky, you understand it's not just air following him. It's belief. The wind was always there, guiding him, reminding him who he was. And tucked into the corners of every workshop, hallway, and snowbank, there are tiny details, like the toy trains zooming endlessly in the background, the egg-shaped bombs Bunnymund hurls during battle, or the little elf who proudly wears bells too large for his feet. These aren't throwaway jokes. They build a world that feels lived in, a world where even the smallest creature has a story. And then there's the snowflake. Watch it. The same hexagonal snowflake appears multiple times throughout the film, on windows, in Jack's frost trails, even carved into the Guardian's crest. It's a visual signature, tying Jack's presence to the world around him. Snowflakes are beautiful, fleeting, and unique, just like belief, just like Jack himself. So much of Rise of the Guardians is built around the idea that the unseen is still real. That faith, whether in magic, in others, or in yourself, is what brings the world to life. And that belief doesn't have to come from everyone. It just has to come from someone. These hidden details, these whispers tucked behind dialogue and beneath layers of frost, are what make the film more than a simple holiday tale. They make it a mirror, a dream, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there are clues pointing us back toward light. When you think about Rise of the Guardians, it's easy to get swept up in the magic on screen. The sparkling ice, the shimmering dreams, the timeless battles between light and darkness. But behind all that wonder, the film's journey from script to screen was packed with unexpected twists, creative struggles, and fascinating choices that few outside the studio ever get to hear about. The story of how Rise of the Guardians was made is almost as enchanting as the film itself. For starters, the movie was a massive technical undertaking. DreamWorks Animation pushed its technology to new heights, especially in rendering Jack Frost's frost and ice effects. They didn't just want ice that looked cold. They wanted it to feel cold, to have texture, to reflect light realistically but still carry that magical sparkle. Achieving this took years of experimentation with particle effects and shader programming, sometimes running simulations for days just to get a single snowflake right. The goal was to create a world where the snow didn't just sit on surfaces but interacted with characters and environments naturally, where frost would crackle and dance as Jack moved. This attention to detail was groundbreaking at the time and set new standards for animated winter effects. One of the strangest technical challenges involved the character of Sandy, the Sandman. Because he communicates entirely through silent images made of golden sand, the animators had to develop a unique system to create fluid, expressive shapes out of particles without any dialogue or conventional facial expressions. This required close collaboration between animators and visual effects artists to choreograph how dreams would form, morph, and dissipate naturally. They studied everything from flowing water to smoke patterns to make sure Sandy's dream sequences felt ethereal yet tangible. It was one of the most ambitious visual storytelling experiments DreamWorks had attempted, and many crew members joked that working on Sandy was like animating an invisible character, something felt but never quite grasped. Casting the voices was another area full of surprises. Chris Pine was a natural fit for Jack Frost, bringing a youthful energy balanced with a hint of vulnerability. But he was only 32 at the time, voicing a character who is forever 18. This gap created interesting discussions among the creative team about how to direct Pine's performance, how to capture that blend of mischievousness and loneliness without making Jack sound too mature or too childish. Pine spent hours with the directors experimenting with tone, pitch, and pacing until they found the sweet spot that felt authentic and relatable. Meanwhile, Alec Baldwin's North was written with a larger-than-life persona in mind, drawing from Russian folklore and old-world charm. Baldwin improvised many lines, including his famous exclamations of classical composers' names, which became a running gag that audiences loved. A little-known behind-the-scenes moment involved the voice recording of the young boy, Jamie. The director insisted on capturing the authentic reactions of a child who genuinely believed in the magic of the story. To achieve this, the young actor was kept unaware of the full plot during recording sessions, allowing him to respond with unfiltered wonder and fear. His genuine awe helped ground the film's emotional core, reminding everyone that belief in magic, whether in a movie or real life, is deeply personal. Another interesting creative choice was the film's use of global mythologies. Rather than focusing on just one cultural tradition, the filmmakers embraced a broader mythology, weaving together figures like Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, and the Sandman from different cultures. This was no easy feat. The team consulted folklore experts and cultural historians to ensure respectful and authentic portrayals, while still fitting them into a cohesive narrative universe. Bunny's character design, for instance, incorporates influences from indigenous totems and Australian legends, blending the familiar with the mythical. This multicultural approach made the Guardians feel timeless and universal, but it also sparked lively debates within the studio about balancing tradition with innovation. Speaking of Bunny, his Australian accent and laid-back attitude were inspired by the actor who voiced him, Hugh Jackman, who also contributed some ad-libbed lines that made it into the final cut. The filmmakers encouraged this improvisation to keep Bunny's dialogue fresh and playful, creating a contrast to the more serious, solemn characters like North and Sandy. This balance helped the film appeal to both kids and adults, mixing humor with heart. The movie's score also carries an intriguing backstory. Alexander Desplat, an acclaimed composer known for his orchestral subtlety, was chosen to score the film. But instead of a traditional holiday or fantasy soundtrack, Desplat blended ethereal, airy motifs with sweeping emotional crescendos to reflect the movie's themes of belief, identity, and courage. The music was recorded with a live orchestra, but with innovative mixing to give the sounds an almost otherworldly quality, sometimes soft and whispery like a dream, other times bold and resonant like a call to arms. The score became a character in its own right, enhancing scenes without overpowering them. One moment that surprised many fans involved the development of Pitch Black, the villain. Early versions of the character were far more monstrous and terrifying, with a darker, more sinister design. But test screenings showed that audiences connected better with a villain who was threatening yet relatable. So the team softened Pitch's features and gave him a dry wit and a tragic backstory, making him a more complex antagonist rather than a one-dimensional evil figure. This change added emotional depth to the story and made the final confrontation between Jack and Pitch more meaningful. There was also a strange coincidence involving the film's release. Rise of the Guardians came out in 2012, the same year as the so-called Mayan apocalypse prediction. Some fans speculated that the movie's themes of hope and belief fighting against darkness were unintentionally aligned with cultural anxieties of the time. The studio never confirmed this, but the timing added a layer of relevance, making the movie feel like a gentle reminder that light endures even when the future feels uncertain. The film's marketing campaign was another unusual story. Rather than relying on typical holiday merchandise, DreamWorks opted for Lee. Rise of the Guardians is packed with scenes that don't just move the plot forward. They resonate deeply, carving out moments that linger long after the credits roll. These moments become emotional touchstones, inviting viewers to reflect on belief, identity, and courage. What makes these scenes so special is the way they combine heartfelt storytelling, powerful visuals, and universal themes into cinematic experiences that connect with audiences on multiple levels. One of the earliest and most striking moments comes in the film's opening, when Jack Frost awakens by the frozen lake. This scene isn't just an origin story, it's a silent visual poem. Jack's emergence from the ice feels both mystical and deeply personal. The frozen landscape reflects his own isolation, beautiful, cold, and untouched by others. What makes this moment stand out is how it captures Jack's loneliness without words. His discovery of the staff, his playful interaction with the wind, and his eventual invisibility all set the stage for his journey. For viewers, this opening offers an invitation to see the world through Jack's eyes, alone but yearning for connection. This moment's emotional weight builds subtly throughout the first half, but it's given its fullest expression when Jack finally finds Jamie, the child who believes in him. The scene where Jamie draws Jack for the first time is a key emotional breakthrough. It's a quiet yet powerful turning point, showing that belief is a bridge between worlds. Here, the film reminds us that magic exists not just in grand gestures but in simple acts of faith and imagination. The warmth of the scene contrasts beautifully with Jack's earlier solitude, marking a shift from isolation to hope. Audience reactions to this scene often highlight its sincerity. It feels genuine, unforced, and touching in a way that anchors the entire story. Another pivotal moment unfolds during the meeting of the Guardians at North's workshop. This gathering is visually spectacular, with the sprawling, toy-filled space brimming with energy. But beneath the surface, the scene carries deep thematic significance. Each Guardian embodies a different aspect of childhood wonder and protection, and their interaction is charged with tension and humor. North's boisterous leadership, Bunny's cautious skepticism, Tooth's nervous enthusiasm, and Sandy's serene wisdom all play off one another, showing how diverse strengths combine to form a greater whole. For audiences, this scene underscores the importance of teamwork and trust, especially in the face of darkness. It's a moment of camaraderie that feels earned, not forced, and it grounds the mythic elements in relatable human emotions. Perhaps the film's most emotionally charged sequence is Jack's revelation of his past, the flashback to the lake where he sacrificed himself to save his sister. This scene is a turning point not only for Jack but for the entire narrative. The mood shifts from adventure to introspection. The animation here is subtle, focusing on expressions and silence rather than dialogue. The imagery of Jack's fall into the freezing water and his rebirth as a spirit conveys themes of sacrifice, loss, and transformation. What makes this moment so powerful is its honesty. It doesn't sugarcoat pain or fear but acknowledges them as part of growth. Viewers often cite this scene as a favorite because it humanizes Jack, turning him from a mischievous trickster into a hero shaped by love and loss. It's a reminder that identity is forged in both darkness and light. Following this emotional depth, the film's depiction of Pitch Black stands out as a masterclass in subtle villainy. His appearances are often framed in shadow and smoke, visually setting him apart from the vibrant Guardians. One key scene shows Pitch infiltrating the children's dreams, turning hope into fear. The atmosphere here is thick with tension, and the animation uses darkness as a tool, creating a claustrophobic, unsettling mood. The way Pitch whispers and mocks belief taps into universal fears. Fear of being forgotten, fear of losing oneself. The audience's reaction to Pitch is complex. He's terrifying, yes, but also tragic. His loneliness mirrors Jack's, adding layers to their conflict. This nuanced portrayal elevates the story beyond a simple good versus evil tale, making the climax more emotionally satisfying. The final battle sequence is a whirlwind of action and symbolism. The Guardians come together, each showcasing their unique powers in a coordinated dance against Pitch and his nightmare horses. This scene dazzles visually but also carries thematic weight. It's a fight not just of strength but of belief versus despair. What's special here is the choreography, the way each Guardian's abilities reflect their essence. From North's swordplay to Bunny's agility, Tooth's light magic, and Sandy's dream sand creations. Jack's role here is critical. As the youngest Guardian, he steps into his full power, embodying the film's message about embracing one's true self. The audience is swept along by the spectacle but also rooted emotionally in Jack's journey from outsider to hero. A quieter but no less important moment comes shortly after the battle, when Jack fully embraces his identity as a Guardian. His laughter here is different. Free, joyful, and confident. The animation emphasizes his glowing eyes and swirling frost patterns, visually communicating his transformation. This scene offers catharsis and closure, signaling that Jack has found belonging and purpose. For viewers, it's a moment of triumph that feels personal, as if they've grown alongside him. The emotional resonance lingers, reminding audiences that self-acceptance is a powerful kind of magic. Throughout the film, the relationship between Jack and Jamie provides a thread of warmth and authenticity. Their scenes together often carry a gentle tenderness, contrasting with the grand mythic battles. One example is the moment Jamie stands up to the bullies at school, inspired by Jack's encouragement. This scene, though grounded in reality, carries symbolic weight. It's about finding courage and standing up for what's right, themes that ripple through the film's larger narrative. The audience response here is often one of uplift, seeing that the magic of belief isn't confined to fantasy but can influence real life. Another key element lies in the film's use of visual motifs, especially light and color, to reinforce emotional beats. Scenes where belief is strong often glow warmly, bathed in golds and soft whites. In contrast, moments of doubt and fear are muted, shaded in blues and grays. This subtle visual language guides the audience's feelings without overt exposition. For example, when Tooth's palace dims after the children lose belief, the sense of loss is palpable even without words. These artistic choices deepen the storytelling, making the emotional journey immersive and intuitive. Audience reactions to Rise of the Guardians often highlight these layered moments as reasons why the film stands out. It isn't just a spectacle or a holiday movie. It's a meditation on faith, identity, and community wrapped in dazzling animation. Critics have praised how the film balances darker themes with humor and hope, creating an experience that resonates with both children and adults. The film's ability to evoke nostalgia for childhood wonder, while also addressing real fears and loneliness, has helped it become a modern classic. In analyzing these key scenes, it's clear that their impact comes from the careful blend of storytelling elements: visual, auditory, narrative, and emotional. The film's creators didn't rely on spectacle alone. They crafted moments that invite empathy and reflection. This approach makes the story feel personal, no matter how mythical the characters become. Ultimately, Rise of the Guardians shapes its overall experience by weaving these moments together into a seamless emotional arc. From Jack's lonely awakening to his triumphant acceptance, from Pitch's creeping darkness to the Guardians' united light, the film invites viewers to explore belief as a living, breathing force. It reminds us that magic isn't just about what's seen but what's felt. In hope, courage, and connection. The key moments act as emotional waypoints, guiding audiences through this journey with honesty and heart. They ask us to believe not just in fantastical heroes, but in the power of faith itself. And that, perhaps, is why these scenes resonate so deeply, because they speak to something universal and timeless. The magic of Rise of the Guardians lies in its ability to make us see that, sometimes, the greatest guardians aren't mythical beings but the hope we carry inside ourselves. As Rise of the Guardians unfolds, it becomes clear that beneath the dazzling visuals and adventurous plot lies a rich tapestry of deeper themes and symbolism that resonate far beyond its fantasy world. The film isn't just about mythical figures protecting children's beliefs. It's a meditation on hope, identity, trust, and the power of belief in shaping who we are and how we connect with the world around us. These themes are woven organically through the characters' journeys and the story's emotional arcs, inviting viewers to reflect on what it means to hold on to faith, in oneself and in others, in a world that can often feel uncertain or threatening. At the heart of the film is the theme of belief, and not just belief in magic or the guardians themselves, but belief as a fundamental human experience. Jamie, the young boy whose unwavering faith in Jack Frost sets the story in motion, embodies this theme in its purest form. His belief isn't blind or naive. It's a conscious choice to hold onto wonder and hope, even when faced with bullies or doubt. This idea that belief requires courage is central. Jamie's character shows us that believing isn't passive. It's an active stance against fear and despair. It's this belief that powers the guardians, whose strength depends on children's faith. The film, therefore, can be read as a celebration of the resilience of hope, reminding audiences that even in difficult times, the simple act of believing can sustain and protect us. Jack Frost's arc deepens this exploration of belief by linking it to identity and self-worth. At the start, Jack is invisible, not just literally, but emotionally and socially. He struggles with loneliness and the pain of feeling unseen and unacknowledged. His journey is one of self-discovery, moving from isolation to acceptance. The symbolic nature of Jack's invisibility reflects how people can feel invisible in their own lives, overlooked, misunderstood, or disconnected. His eventual acceptance by the Guardians parallels a universal human desire to find belonging and to be valued for who we truly are. This theme of identity is subtle but powerful. It suggests that belief in oneself is as important as belief in others, and that everyone's unique qualities have a place and purpose. Pitch Black, the film's antagonist, serves as a symbolic counterpoint to the Guardian's light and hope. He represents fear, doubt, and the corrosive power of despair. His ability to invade dreams and turn them into nightmares isn't just a scary plot device. It's a metaphor for how fear can distort our perceptions and steal our confidence. Pitch's character explores how negative emotions can grow when belief falters. But what's remarkable is that he's not a simple villain. His loneliness mirrors Jack's, hinting that fear and hope exist in tension rather than opposition. This nuance adds emotional depth and reflects real-world complexities where darkness and light coexist within individuals and societies. The film suggests that overcoming fear requires not only external support but internal courage and self-belief. Another theme intricately woven into the narrative is the idea of guardianship itself, protecting innocence, wonder, and imagination in a world that often pressures us to grow up too quickly. The Guardians aren't just magical figures. They're symbolic caretakers of childhood's intangible gifts. Their presence is a reminder that these gifts, joy, creativity, hope, need nurturing and defense. This resonates in contemporary culture where the loss of innocence and the rush to maturity can sometimes feel overwhelming. The film argues for the preservation of these qualities, suggesting that they are essential not just for children but for adults too. The Guardians' diverse personalities and methods show that protection takes many forms, from playfulness to wisdom, from dreams to courage. Symbolism in Rise of the Guardians enriches these themes throughout the film. The use of light and darkness is especially poignant. The film's palette shifts to emphasize these forces: bright, warm light representing belief, life, and hope, while shadows and cold tones symbolize fear and despair. Jack Frost's icy powers are a particularly complex symbol. Ice can freeze and isolate, but it also sparkles with beauty and refreshes the landscape. Jack's powers embody this duality, his potential for harm balanced by his capacity for joy and protection. This dual symbolism reflects human complexity and the idea that our strengths and weaknesses are intertwined. Dreams, a recurring motif, carry layered significance as well. Sandy, the Sandman, communicates entirely through dreams, which are depicted as delicate, fleeting images crafted from golden sand. Dreams here symbolize hope, imagination, and the subconscious mind. They are fragile but potent, capable of inspiring or frightening depending on who controls them. The film suggests that protecting dreams is vital because they nurture the creative and hopeful parts of our nature. This metaphor extends to the real world where dreams can represent ambitions, aspirations, or the childlike spark that fuels innovation and resilience. By having the Guardians fight to protect children's dreams, the movie underscores the cultural importance of nurturing creativity and hope in future generations. The film's multicultural elements add another layer of social commentary. By bringing together mythological figures from different traditions, Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, and Jack Frost, the story embraces diversity and the universality of childhood wonder. This blend is more than a narrative convenience. It's a subtle commentary on cultural inclusivity and the shared human need for stories that inspire and protect. The film acknowledges that belief and imagination transcend cultural boundaries and that different traditions can coexist and enrich one another. In a world increasingly aware of cultural differences and tensions, this message feels especially timely and hopeful. On a broader societal level, Rise of the Guardians can be seen as a commentary on the importance of hope and belief in the face of modern anxieties. The early 2010s, when the film was released, were marked by global uncertainties, economic instability, environmental concerns, and social upheaval. The film's emphasis on belief as a protective force speaks to the need for optimism and courage during challenging times. It argues that while darkness and fear are real, they don't have to define us. Instead, the story invites viewers to hold on to light, whether that's through faith in themselves, in others, or in a better future. This message resonates universally and adds depth beyond the surface of an animated adventure. The relationship between Jack and Jamie also touches on social themes of acceptance and belonging. Jamie's role as the human child who believes in the Guardians grounds the film's fantasy in real-world experiences of childhood vulnerability and resilience. His struggles with bullies and his need for protection mirror issues children face daily. Jack's mentorship and friendship symbolize the importance of having role models and support systems. This dynamic reflects social values about nurturing, community, and the power of kindness in overcoming adversity. It subtly encourages viewers to recognize their own capacity to protect and inspire others. The motif of sacrifice further enriches the story's thematic core. Jack's backstory, where he sacrifices himself to save his sister, underscores the theme that true courage often involves selflessness. This act shapes his identity and power, highlighting that strength comes from love and sacrifice rather than dominance or fear. This message challenges traditional heroic narratives focused solely on physical might or victory, offering instead a nuanced view of heroism rooted in empathy and connection. Finally, the film's conclusion, where the Guardians stand united against Pitch, is a celebration of collective strength and the power of community. Each Guardian's unique abilities contribute to their shared victory, reinforcing the idea that diversity and cooperation are essential to overcoming darkness. This idea feels particularly relevant today, as societies grapple with division and look for ways to build understanding and solidarity. The movie's emphasis on teamwork and mutual respect feels less like fantasy and more like a hopeful blueprint for real-world harmony. In sum, Rise of the Guardians is a story layered with meaning, its themes and symbols working seamlessly within the narrative to explore belief, identity, fear, hope, and community. Rather than preaching or lecturing, the film invites viewers into a world where these ideas are embodied in characters and stories they can relate to and feel deeply. This natural integration of profound messages into an entertaining adventure is part of what gives the film its lasting impact. It reminds us that the magic we seek is often found in the values we hold and the connections we make, encouraging us to be guardians of hope in our own lives. From the very first frame, Rise of the Guardians announces itself as a film deeply committed to visual storytelling, where every shot, every movement, and every sound contributes to the unfolding of its magical world. The movie's visual style is a blend of sweeping landscapes, intricate character design, and carefully crafted lighting that together create a unique atmosphere that feels both vast and intimate. This visual identity isn't just about looking stunning. It serves the story in profound ways, helping to communicate mood, emotion, and theme without relying solely on dialogue. The cinematography in Rise of the Guardians makes extensive use of dynamic camera angles and movements that pull the viewer into the action while also emphasizing the emotional states of the characters. For instance, early scenes featuring Jack Frost use wide, open shots that emphasize his isolation in the vast, snowy wilderness. The camera lingers on frozen lakes and snow-laden trees, using expansive framing to highlight how small and alone Jack feels in this world. When the camera then shifts to close-ups on Jack's expressive face, the contrast makes his loneliness palpable. These choices invite the audience not just to watch but to feel Jack's solitude as if they were sharing his world. As the story progresses and Jack begins to connect with the other Guardians and children, the cinematography evolves to include warmer lighting and more intimate framing. Scenes inside North's workshop, for example, burst with detail and color, packed with toys, trinkets, and laughter. The camera moves fluidly through this space, capturing both the grandeur and the quirky personality of the setting. These shots create a cozy, bustling environment that contrasts sharply with the cold wilderness from the start. This visual shift mirrors Jack's emotional journey, using the physical space and camera work to tell a story of growing belonging and warmth. The editing style of the film also plays a crucial role in pacing and tone. Action sequences are cut with a rhythm that balances excitement with clarity. Battles between the Guardians and Pitch's nightmare horses are fast-paced but never chaotic, allowing the viewer to appreciate the choreography of movement and the distinct powers of each character. The editing in quieter scenes, by contrast, slows down considerably, allowing moments of reflection and emotional connection to breathe. This careful control over tempo means that the audience is never overwhelmed or bored. Instead, they are guided smoothly through highs and lows, both narratively and emotionally. One of the most impressive aspects of the visual storytelling lies in the character animation. Each Guardian is given a distinct physicality and style that reflects their personality and powers. Jack Frost's movements are playful and agile, often accompanied by swirling frost patterns that trail behind him, visually reinforcing his connection to ice and winter. North's booming gestures and robust frame embody his larger-than-life persona, while Bunny's nimble, alert motions convey his nervous but loyal spirit. Tooth's delicate, graceful movements, combined with her sparkling wings, emphasize her ethereal nature as the Tooth Fairy. Sandy's silent, fluid gestures speak volumes without words, highlighting his role as the gentle, dream-weaving Sandman. These animated nuances give life and texture to the characters, making them memorable and relatable. Lighting design is another powerful storytelling tool throughout the film. The interplay of light and shadow not only establishes mood, but also symbolically reinforces the narrative's themes. The Guardians' realms are often bathed in soft, glowing light, golden and comforting, symbolizing hope, protection, and belief. Conversely, Pitch's dark domain is shrouded in smoky shadows and cold, harsh blues, creating a stark visual contrast that immediately signals danger and despair. This contrast heightens tension whenever Pitch appears, making his presence a visual disruption that unsettles the otherwise warm and magical world. The filmmakers use these lighting contrasts thoughtfully, ensuring that viewers intuitively grasp the stakes and emotional undercurrents. Sound design complements the visuals with equal precision. The film's soundscape blends naturalistic sounds with magical elements to enhance immersion. The crunch of snow underfoot, the whistle of the winter wind, and the subtle twinkle of fairy dust create a sensory world that feels alive. When the Guardians wield their powers, the sound effects are carefully crafted to be distinct and evocative. Jack's frost magic crackles with crisp, icy tones, while Tooth's light magic shimmers delicately. Pitch's presence is marked by unsettling whispers and rumbling echoes, adding an auditory layer to his menace. These sound details deepen the viewer's engagement, making each moment feel tangible and textured. Music, composed by Alexander Desplat, weaves through the film with a score that ranges from playful and lighthearted to haunting and intense, perfectly matching the story's emotional shifts. The music supports the narrative without overpowering it, often using subtle motifs to represent characters or themes. For example, Jack Frost's theme carries a breezy, youthful quality that reflects his free-spirited nature, while the darker, more ominous tones associated with pitch build suspense and dread. The score's orchestration, blending strings, woodwinds, and choral elements, enhances the fairy tale atmosphere, inviting audiences into a world where the fantastic feels real and immediate. The director's vision is evident in these stylistic choices, revealing a commitment to storytelling that prioritizes emotional clarity and immersive world-building. The use of CGI animation here isn't merely about spectacle. It's about crafting an environment where story and style inform each other seamlessly. For example, the detailed textures on Jack's frost patterns aren't just decorative. They visually express his emotions, from mischief to sorrow to joy. Similarly, the fluid transitions between the Guardians' different domains use subtle visual cues like color shifts and architectural style to reinforce their unique roles and personalities. One particularly unique stylistic choice is the way the film treats silence and stillness. Moments without dialogue or music, where the screen may linger on a simple gesture or a character's expression, carry immense weight. These pauses create space for reflection, allowing viewers to connect emotionally without distraction. For example, the silent flashback of Jack's sacrifice uses minimal sound and slow, deliberate visuals to convey a depth of feeling that words could never fully capture. These moments demonstrate confidence in the power of pure visual storytelling, trusting the audience to feel rather than be told. The film also embraces a rich use of symbolism through visual motifs integrated into the animation. Frost patterns curling like delicate filigree don't just decorate Jack's magic. They symbolize fragility and beauty, reminding viewers that even cold and isolation can hold artistry and life. The recurring imagery of light, whether from North's glowing sword, Tooth's sparkling fairy dust, or Sandy's golden dream sand, serves as a constant reminder of the power of hope and belief. These visual symbols reinforce the film's deeper messages, subtly reminding the audience that light persists even in darkness. Furthermore, the interplay between movement and stillness in the animation reflects the film's thematic exploration of change and growth. Jack's fluid, unpredictable motions contrast with North's commanding, steady presence, visually portraying the tension between youthful freedom and experienced leadership. Bunny's jittery, nervous gestures mirror his inner conflict, while Tooth's graceful dance-like flight captures her ethereal nature. This attention to physical storytelling makes each character's emotional state readable without words, enriching the narrative's emotional complexity. Editing choices further enhance this visual storytelling by pacing scenes to maximize emotional impact. The film uses cross-cutting to build tension, particularly during the climactic battle scenes, weaving together multiple perspectives and power displays. This technique immerses the viewer in the chaos while maintaining clarity. In quieter scenes, long takes allow characters to breathe and emotions to settle, providing balance. This editorial rhythm ensures the film's tone shifts smoothly between action, humor, and introspection. In the soundscape, the subtle layering of ambient sounds enhances the sense of place and mood. For example, the wind carries different tones depending on the scene, whistling cold and lonely in Jack's early moments, then turning playful and warm as he finds friendship. The use of silence amid sound is equally effective, drawing attention to moments of vulnerability or revelation. This interplay enriches the film's emotional texture, making the world feel lived in and responsive. In sum, Rise of the Guardians employs cinematic techniques that do far more than decorate the story. They shape how the story is felt and understood. The careful choreography of camera work, lighting, animation, editing, sound design, and music creates a cohesive sensory experience that immerses viewers in a world both magical and emotionally authentic. The director's vision shines through in the harmonious blending of these elements, crafting a film where every visual and auditory choice serves to deepen the narrative's emotional resonance. This mastery of cinematic technique is why the film continues to captivate audiences, inviting repeated viewings to uncover new layers of meaning and beauty. It's a reminder that great storytelling is not just about what happens, but how it's shown and heard, and Rise of the Guardians excels at making every frame and note count toward a magical, unforgettable journey.